and welcome to another episode of Kuvera Insights, where we talk to leading industry experts on how to manage our wealth better. Today, we have a very special guest, Meeta. She is a portfolio manager with Tata AMC. She's a senior research analyst and a fund manager. She has over 15 years of experience. She's done fund management for Tata Digital India Fund and Tata India Pharma and Healthcare Fund since November 2018. Her experience is across brokers, across sector-specific kind of research. And now, of course, for the past 3 years, she's been managing a fund and doing fantastic at it. She's a CFA chartered holder from CFA Institute, USA, and a bachelor in economics. Welcome, Meeta. It's so good to have you here.
Great to connect, Gaurav, and happy to be on the platform. Really look forward for the conversation.
Thank you so much. Let's start. Let's start with your forte. Okay, what is digital transformation? What does it mean? Like in a very simplistic term, when someone says, "Hey, you know what? I want to invest in digital transformation in India." What are they really investing in?
Okay. So see, Gaurav, digital transformation is, a coined word, but, it has a very wider meaning. It has wider implications and a much wider concept rather. So what a digital transformation would mean is that any way of business or any way of reaching out to customers or partners, the way it is transformed and it's become more digitized, in turn not only digitized but also made it more efficient, more economical and more seamless. So the business, the way it was done, whether it was to your own employees when you're taking the team into into a conversation, all the way up to managing the inventory, to managing your payrolls, to even selling out to the customers, each and every aspect of your business, when it is transformed and when it is done in a more efficient or a seamless way with the help of technology, that is in a simplistic form what I would call as a digital transformation. Now it can get into as detail as using of more tech when you're driving, right? We all at some point would be driving our cars, and the amount of technology today which is used into driving a car, like we get the sensors, we get the our screen just shows up if there is any kind of collision going to happen, or as simple as helping us with the parking when we are reversing the car. Every basic thing which has improved our experience to drive a car with the help of technology is a digital technology today. To as simple as buying something on an Amazon, right? 10 years back, 20 years back, even the generation earlier, our parents, they would have never thought of something like this, which can happen. And today companies have reached our doorstep and they're delivering in a span of a day or two. Some are even delivering at the span of few hours, and they've made our experience.
10 minutes is the
10
new
minutes,
benchmark.
yeah. Yes, Dunzo and all our experience.
If it's not there in 10 minutes, I don't even consider a delivery anymore.
Yes.
Really.
So the experience is very different, and the experience has got improved. We are having a much better satisfaction when we are purchasing stuff online, and it's all done with the help of tech. That's digital transformation. Today we can transfer money online.
Let's take a simplistic example, right?
Yeah.
So say there are 3 players in this ecosystem, right? There is a company that is using digital technologies to deliver faster. There is a product manufacturer that is building these digital technologies. And then there is a consulting company or an implementation company that implements these. So when you talk about digital transformation, which are the companies that you're looking at? You're looking at the actual product manufacturers. You're looking at the industry that is using those products to transform their processes, or you're looking at the consultants who are helping achieve that?
Okay. So I generally give this analogy, and it will set the context very well. So sure. I will just use that. Now imagine a company XYZ. Okay. Now it runs any kind of product. It has manufacturing of a large product, and all those product inventories are lying in a warehouse A. Right. Now they want to move that product, all the inventory, from a warehouse A to warehouse B. They want to just kind of shift. Now they would need a logistic partner to do that, right? They would not have all the bandwidth internally to move such large amount of inventories. So they will hire a logistic company. Now this is a very simple example, very simply understandable. Now imagine that XYZ company is a company which is looking to transform digitally. Now the way it can transform is either it can move all the softwares to cloud. So, it's easily accessible from anywhere the employees are, or it can be moving to a different platform altogether from SAP to SAP HANA, or it could be any way or any different way of doing the business only, right? Moving to cloud or moving to a better software. Now, in this context, the logistics company will be the Indian IT services company or any global IT services company, say a
Yep.
TCS or an Infosys. So when I'm looking to invest in the fund that I manage, which is Tata Digital India Fund, which is a sectoral fund, and I invest
Right.
only in IT companies there, I would look at those logistic companies first because they will help me play the journey that the entire world is going through, because without those enablers this journey is not possible. Every company, every XYZ company will need a helping hand from these enablers. So that is the journey that I can also take part by investing into these for my investors. Second would be to actually have a warehouse B company. Now, what is warehouse B? Would be a cloud provider like a AWS, Amazon, or a Google Cloud, or any other company which makes a better platform, which is helping the digitization. Now, what happens here, Gaurav, is that we don't have many companies of category B in India.
The product companies, the
Yeah, the
companies which are
product.
building the true product. Understood.
Yes. So I will have to look at the US companies in that context to be a part of that journey. And that's what we have done. In our fund, we have enabled this 2 years back that we can invest into the US listed companies. And we've
Is there
started.
a limit to which you can invest? Is there a
Yeah.
mandate there, like a ceiling there?
Yes, there's a 20% cap.
20%.
Yeah. But we are just about 5-6% at this point in time. But yeah, that is the way for me to look at that different set of companies which are also driving this digital transformation. But companies, logistic companies in that context, which is the IT services companies in the analogy, are the core transformers who are enabling this. So that's a large part of my portfolio actually.
In terms of market cap, right? Say if you look at a Nifty 100 or something like that, like any benchmark that you're most comfortable with, what percentage of that benchmark today is these digital transformation companies, is these IT services companies?
Yeah. So roughly it would be somewhere close to 20 to 25%, whichever benchmark you see. And that is fairly low, right? If you look at US, the tech companies are all put together close to 40 to 45% of the broader market, and we are barely about half or slightly more
But it
than
would
half.
still be the second largest, I would think, right? Right behind banking, I would think. Banking is
Yes,
probably 30 plus. And then
close to 40 if you include the financial services.
if you include the financial, understood. So what's the so if you can now tell us kind of set the context on what has happened in digital transformation in India and what's the opportunity set going forward, right? Like what have been like the top three kind of driving factors? I would assume currency is a big part of it. I would assume they do service a lot of international brands and international companies as well. So what are the top three kind of driving factors for this industry, and what does the outlook look like?
Sure. So Gaurav, let me give you a broader, the industry contour, and then I will get into the outlook.
Sure.
So if you look at the global IT spend, they are close to $1 trillion at this point in time, and close to 25% of that spend, or say the workload, is actually spent on the cloud. Now, the expectation is that this 25 will roughly go to 50 or maybe closer to 60% in a span of 3 to 4 years. So that's the kind of growth or the accelerated growth that we're going to see, where a lot of these workloads will move to cloud, and they will need enablers for that, which is where the Indian IT services company come in picture. That's the broader opportunity. Now that's only the cloud piece, right? And then there are other opportunities like a cybersecurity, blockchain. These are all very nascent, and they're still kind of gaining grounds in terms of they are how to apply and how to kind of cybersecurity. Although I believe is slightly more mature, but something like a blockchain, AI, they are all still kind of gaining its own feet and will eventually have a larger set of growth going into the future. But the largest growth driver for the Indian IT companies today is the cloud transformation. And that is where the growth is going to look far higher and better versus what we have seen in the last 3-4 years, or say a decade rather.
Fair enough. Fair. And then going forward, what are the biggest opportunities and what are also the risks? Because it would seem like, that they're also competing for these mandates with some of the other larger IT services companies globally.
Yes. So, in fact, Gaurav, it's more of it's not a risk, rather, it's a risk for the other side of the companies.
Right.
What I have seen and what data points out is that the Indian IT companies have been constantly gaining share in this IT services piece of the business. So if I have to just give you some context, if I take the 5 to 6 top companies in the US on the services side, and the top companies in India, the top 5-6 companies, and if I see their revenue pie and the share, how it has moved, we have gained from a 10% share in 2010 to as close to as 30% share today. So we have actually taken share from DXCs, IBMs, Accenture, and the data is very clearly there. So we have actually been better and higher in terms of efficiency. We are obviously able to provide the same service at a much lower cost. That has been in our favor for a while. All these things, and plus the years of decades of learning and experiences which have gone to handle a large scale operation seamlessly, all those have actually played in our favor.
So what would be the biggest risks then? Is it purely then on the hiring and people side?
So that is a risk for sure in the near term, because what we have seen is that as we've seen the demand getting better and bigger with time, and this acceleration, the big wave that we are seeing in transformation, digital transformation, there has clearly been a shortage of talent. The attrition numbers for most of these companies have gone through the roof. So from about 15 odd percent, we are seeing a 25 to 30% attrition happening. It depends on which company we are talking. So clearly, people and the supply side, as we call, is a challenge. But I think it's more of a near-term challenge, because India has close to 8 lakh to 10 lakh pool of engineers graduating every year. And these companies, which were not so aggressive on hiring freshers a couple of years back, have suddenly accelerated that, and they pushed the pedal, and now they're hiring far aggressively. So as this new fresh talent gets trained and become productive over the next 6 months to 12 months, I think we will see some relief on the attrition and the supply side. But I think on the risk side, what is the biggest risk in IT always is the changing technology, and you have to be ahead of the curve to ensure that you're relevant to the client today, even as an enabler. As a platform company, obviously you have to, but even as an enabler, you should be having the know-how of that new technology for you to help clients adapt that. So that is always the biggest risk. But so far we have been able to do a good job in that, and maybe all will not be winners, but most companies have learned it, and they've kind of gained scale over this. So I think, yeah, but that can be a risk in my sense. But yeah,
in Indian IT and forex seem to go hand in hand all the time, right? But what is the true share of like how much does forex truly impact these companies?
Yeah. So, Gaurav, today, practically all the IT services export, whatever we see in revenues for these larger IT companies which are listed on Indian context courses, are all having export revenues. India is a barely small portion of these companies. So, currency definitely plays an important role. But, one has to remember that they also have cost associated in those currencies. They also have employees sitting out there. They also have setups there. So it becomes a natural hedge to some extent. And if you look at history, right, over the last 10, 15 years, the way the dollar has moved from 45 to now close to 74, 75, and you see the margins, ideally one would have believed that from 45 to a journey to all the way up to 70 plus, margin should have gone up. But margins have actually slid down. So whatever, in my sense, whatever I've seen is that a very sharp movement within a quarter or two definitely helps or impacts the way the currency moves. But over the longer run, it gets neutralized into your new contract signings, and eventually it does not play a very big role.
Effectively, your costs and your kind of revenues adjust to whatever the new FX regime is, but that happens in the medium to long term.
Yes.
If it's a short-term shock, then it does affect
it does help.
For day traders, it probably matters, but for most of the investors, it's probably not something that you would be worried about.
Yeah.
That's also very good to know. I definitely have to ask you this, right? I mean, we don't see a lot many women investors, especially portfolio managers in this industry. And like you said earlier, that probably you can count them on your fingertips. So what needs to change for us to have more women investors in general, but also more women portfolio managers?
Well, I think women investors clearly are more sharper and more focused, at least the way interactions I have done over all these years. So I think women must come forward and, look at this investment avenue more closely. And I see that changing a bit, and I'm sure you would be seeing that changing as well into your client mix. As far as portfolio managers concerned, I think we need to be hired more simply. So more hiring on the women's side clearly will change the mix. But I think things are changing slowly and gradually. They are clearly.
No, so we hope so too. Right? I mean, our data clearly shows. I mean, we do see a lot more women investors as a percentage of the total user base. But on the investment management side, it still remains like, I think, barring a few names, pretty much everyone we have spoken to is a man, right? And it's the state of the industry. And I think globally also that has been true, though. Kathy Wood is coming out and she's kind of literally charting a new path. I mean, people can agree with her or disagree with her, but what she's done is phenomenal, right? Yeah. And I think would love to see something like that in India as well. So I hope what you're saying does pan out, that, AMCs do start hiring more women, not that they listen to me.
Neither me.
But it was lovely having you, Meeta. I think we definitely learned a lot about kind of what digital transformation truly means and what people are investing in when they invest in that theme. And it's good to know that, it's a global market being serviced out of India. So the runway is really long. And we are kind of, it's not like, the market is already saturated and then there's no growth left.
True. Pleasure connecting, Gaurav, and very happy new year to you and your viewers. And I hope this year brings in far more healthier months ahead. I know we are in the third wave, but I hope that this is not as long as we've seen in Delta. And wish you a very healthy and a prosperous new year to you and your partner.
Thanks, Meeta. Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you.